Welcome everyone to my channel. I have officially started the Lifetime Library Grimm fairy tales by the brother Grimm. Isn't this a beautiful cover? Book is orange. It's okay. Looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all? Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, Little Snow White. So this volume is 59 of the Enduring Tales, from which Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm collected of essential bedtime stories for children worldwide for the better part of 2 centuries, and features Hansel and Gretel, Cinderella, the Frog Prince, Rapunzel, Snow White, Rumpelstiltskin, and dozens more. And a lot of illustrations by Arthur Rackham to illustrate for the stories. So that's what this is. This is a nice inside, right? I don't think I'm going to keep the book, to be honest. I think I might just get rid of it after I read it. This is the inside. This is collected by them. Did you know that's their full names? They both have Carl for a middle name. Jacob Ludwig Carl Grimm and Wilhelm Carl Grimm. So the first one is The Frog King or Iron Henry, which I would assume is actually The Frog Prince in its own way, because it talks about a girl who's the youngest of a king, who's playing with a golden ball, and it gets lost into a pond, and a frog comes out and says, "I'll get it, but if you promise me some things, then that's how I'll get it." And she agrees to it, and he gets it, and she tries to go back on her word, but her father won't let her, and the frog turns into a king, and the king, young king, sits there and goes home with his new wife. Yay, that's it. And then a cat and a mouse, the partnership, is number 2. Number 2 is basically about a cat and a mouse who live together, and the cat and the mouse decide, well, we need to get a tub of lard for the winter, for when there's no more food for us to get. And the cat, of course, goes in 3 days and licks the top of the tub, then eats half of it, top off, half gone, and then what's the last one that he sits there and says? All gone. And then when the food's scarce, they go to sit there and see the food, the tub of lard, and that's when the mouse learns what the cat did. And the cat's like, "Don't you say no more or I'll eat you." And then he eats the mouse, because the mouse finishes off, because he starts to listen. Now I see what happens, First top off, then half done, then, and that's what says, "Will you hold your tongue or I'll eat you?" All gone. That's how he eats the mouse. The story of the youth who went forth to learn about fear. So a father had 2 sons, and in this one, basically, one son is strong and smart and knows things, and the other one's dumb as bricks, I guess. And he doesn't know what fear is, and he doesn't know how to shudder, because he's never shuddered before. And he's like, "I'm going to go out, set forth, and learn how to shudder, because that's what I want to do." And they try to make him shudder. Scare him, because that's what he wants, because he wants to shudder. So a sexton sits there and takes a boy and sits there and brings him here and says, "You're going to go up and ring this bell at night." And he goes up to ring it, and the sexton stands there all creepy like a ghost, and the boy doesn't get scared. He's like, "Who are you? Tell me who you are. Who are you? Identify yourself or I'm going to throw you off the stairs." And then the 3rd time, "Identify yourself or I'm going to do something to you." Didn't. So he pushed the guy down, and the guy ended up with a broken leg. But he wasn't scared. The 2nd time, a guy says, "Get on the wagon and I will give you something to shudder about," right? And what the shudder was that he was to stand behind, sit underneath at night these gallows and be creeped out. But the guy just lit a fire, was warming up, and said, "Oh, those guys up there, they're not cold." So he literally goes up, unties each and every one of them, puts them around the fire, and tries to talk to them. But when they don't talk back, he's like, "All right, I'm going to put you back up because their clothes start getting on fire." So he hangs them back up. And he's like, "Nope, didn't make me shudder." So he hears about this tale about this haunted castle where the king will allow the man to marry his daughter if he sits there and stays in the castle for 3 days. So that's what he does. The first night, cats come out. He chops them up and eats them. The second night, a bunch of ghosts come out carrying a coffin. He revives the guy. The guy sits there and doesn't do what the boy wants, so he puts the guy back in the coffin. The third time, a tall man comes in and says, "I'm going to kill you." And the freaking dude kills the tall man instead. And then he's like, "Yep, nope, didn't get shudder." So he marries the princess, and he loves his wife. And he's like, "I still can't shudder." So what the maid does, gets a bucket full of cold water and tells the woman to throw it on top of his husband, the boy who couldn't shudder, with little fishes sprawled all over. And he woke up saying, "Ah, now I know what it's like to shudder." Like, seriously? And the Wolf and the Seven Little Kids is basically the Wolf and the Pigs. So the old goat, who's their mother, goes out to get something to eat and says, "Don't open the door for no one, including that wolf. He has this type of voice, and he has black feet." So the wolf comes up and says, "Let me in." They say, "No, you're not our mother because of your voice." So he goes and makes his voice softer. He's like, "Let me in." "No, we see your paws. They're black. You're not our mother." So he gets his paws with dough and powder and stuff on them to make them look like they're white. And so they let him in. And they scatter and they hide. And he finds out but one, eats the one, and then leaves to go sleep. The old goat comes back, finds their shells, got one son left, and they rush out to where the wolf is laying. She literally cuts the wolf open, gets all her kids back, takes rocks, puts them inside, and sews them back up, and he drowns in a pond of water when he went to go get a drink, thinking he was thirsty, and realizing he had stones. So, yeah. There's that. And then the pack of ragamuffins. A cock and a hen go out, gorge themselves on some nuts, and can't get home the normal way. So they they built a carrot coach, and they're like, "Well, who do we get to pull it?" So they find this duck who's like, "Who I use to eat my nuts?" They beat the duck up, force the duck to pull them, stop and find a needle and a pin, and they take them in. So they get to this inn, and they sit there and say, "You can have this egg, and the duck, keep the duck, because the duck can lay eggs." But they wake up early, put the needle in the chair of the man, put the pin on a towel, ate the egg, put the eggshells in the fire, and left. And the duck woke up, saw that they were gone, and left himself. The old man that owned the inn woke up, took a bath, wiped his face, got bloody because of the pin, went to sit down in his chair, or went to go eat, found the eggshells blasting into his face, to his eyes, and then he sat there and went to go sit down, and he jumped back up and found the needle. And he's like, "I'm never taking in ragamuffins ever again. They don't pay for nothing, they consume much, and they play mischievous tricks into the bargain by way of gratitude." And then there's Rapunzel. Rapunzel's number 6 in this. It's different from what we've watched, the Rapunzel movie and everything like that I've heard. But basically, the mother sees some Rapunzel flowers. She wants to eat them. her husband goes and gets them. The second time around when he goes and gets them, the enchantress finds him and is like, oh, well, you have to give me your firstborn kid. You're a child that comes out, and I will raise a child as its mother. And then when the child is like 11 or 12 years old, she goes locks Rapunzel up into a tower. And, that's where the Rapunzel let down your hair. Then a prince comes along, falls in love with her singing. King comes along, falls in love with her singing, and decides to go up there one time and meet him. They talk, they meet. She starts making ladders from the stuff that he brings her. And then Mother Gothel goes back up one day and she talks about the boy. And she's like, oh no, you have done bad things to me. She go dumps her into the desert to die. And then she tricks the prince to climb up the rope of hair that she cut off from Rapunzel and says, ha, I'm going to end your life and you're never going to see again. He ends up surviving the fall from jumping out of the tower, but he gets pricked in the eyes and becomes blind, and he wanders for a few years, and he wanders right to Rapunzel, who has given birth to 2 children, a boy and a girl. She heals his eyes, he takes her back to the kingdom, and they all live happily ever after. Hansel and Gretel. Everybody knows the story of Hansel and Gretel. 2 children go into the woods to find a witch house, and they eat it, and then she goes to cook them alive, and they trick her and cook her alive. In this, the mother wants to get rid of the children because they can got food. The father really doesn't want to, but he agrees with the mother, and so they go out, leave them in the forest. But the boys and the girl overheard, so the boy picks rocks, puts them in his pocket, and he uses the silver rocks to make a way back home. And they follow it that night, and they get back, and the mother's like, oh, we're so happy to see you again. And things are good for a little while. And then it happens again, the shortage of food. So they decide they're going to leave them further into the woods and leave them there. But this time the boy has bread only because he couldn't go outside to get no stones. So he uses the breadcrumbs to lead. And he's like, don't worry, we'll follow back. But then when he goes to follow back, breadcrumbs are gone. Animals ate them. So they wander around until they find a house. They start eating it because they're hungry. It's been like 3 or 4 days since they've eaten anything. And so they eat it. And the witch comes out and says, oh, come inside, I'll take care of you. And gives them good food, lets them go to sleep. And she's an evil witch who eats children. And she uses the candy house to trick them into coming into her home. So she locks Hansel up into a cage in the stable and forces the girl to work for him to fatten up her brother. But he's got this little bone that he's tricking her with because she's like, show me your bone so I can see how fat you are and so I can eat you because you can't really see that well. So he gives out this thin little bone and she's like, oh, you're not getting fat. But she gets fed up of waiting, so she says, well, we're going to cook them anyways. So she sits there and has the stove open and she's like, get in there and see if it's working. And she's like, Gretel's like, why don't you show me how to do it because I don't know how I'm doing. And so she goes in to show her, and Gretel closes the door and burns the witch alive, gets her brother out. They find jewels, gold, all kinds of stuff, and they run back home. They finally make it back home, and the mother is dead, the father is still alive, they have riches, and they live happily ever after. No more hard to come by food. So, the white snake. This king eats something that's covered up every single night after dinner, and they don't know what it is, and one servant decides to sit there and find out what it is, and he sees that it is a snake. He eats a piece of the snake, and then he finds out that he can understand the language of animals. So it's very good for him, because that very day, the queen's ring disappeared, and he was a prime suspect for it. So he was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And he hears these 2 swans talking about it. Or are they ducks? Or geese? Some ducks. Talking about it. And one of them's like, this ring I swallowed is lying heavy in my stomach. So he grabs that one, shows it to the cook, and says, here, cook this one. And they find the ring. So he decides, as a reward, that he wants to go out and explore the world. That's what he does. He comes upon some fishes stuck outside of a pond. He helps them back in and says, we will remember you and repay you for saving us. He goes into this desert area, and he hears these ants complaining about being crushed, so he turns his horse another way. He says, "We will remember you and repay you." And then he sits there and finds some ravens. They're being babies, being pushed out of their parents' nest because their parents don't want to feed them anymore because they can't find food for themselves. They're having a hard time, so they push them out. And so he kills his horse and gives them the horse meat to eat. And he says, "You are very kind. We will repay you one day." So then he goes into this kingdom, and his daughter wants a husband, but whoever it is must perform a hard task. And if he doesn't succeed, he will be killed. So he's like, "I will do it." He says, the king takes a ring and throws it into the water. Says, "You have to go fetch it, and you cannot come back up until you have the ring again." And this guy's like, "Oh no, what am I going to do?" And then these three fishes come along, and they have this clam, and inside the clam is the ring. So he presents it to the king, but the daughter's like, "No, he's a peasant. I don't want him." So she gives him another task, and she takes 10 sacks of millet seeds and spreads them all over in a garden. She says, "All of those have to pick up, none can be missing by morning." And guess what happens? All of the ants come in, pick it all up, put them in the sacks, and not a single one is missing. So there's that. But she's like, "I can't do it. I got to do it one more time." She's like, "Bring me an apple from the tree of life." And so he goes and he searches through different kingdoms for this tree of life. And then he comes upon, then he stops one night and he thinks about it. And 3 ravens bring him a golden apple. "We're the 3 young ravens that you gave us food for. We have grown big inside that you were hearing about seeking for the golden apple. So we flew to the other end of the world for the tree of life stands and brought you back this apple." So he brings the apple back to the girl, the king's daughter. And reluctantly, they share the apple, cutting in half. And then she falls in love with him. And they live happily ever after. This other tale is just a little ridiculous. It's about a straw, a coal, and a bean. So this woman gathered up a bunch of straw and dropped one of them. She sat there and threw them into a fire to burn them. She sat there and took coals and lit them on fire to burn them, and one of them jumped out. And then she threw the beans on there to cook them so she could eat them, and one of the beans fell out. So all 3 of them were like, "Let's go on an adventure. Go as far as we can. Let's just leave so we don't get harmed again." And so then they come across this little river that they can't get across. The straw says, "I will lay across it, and you guys crawl upon it." So he lays across to make the bridge. The coal comes along, and then he gets frightened in the middle of it. He burns the straw in half, and they both fall into the river and wash away. The bean laughs so hard because they didn't go across the river and explodes. But a man comes along and takes a black thread and needle and stitches the bean back up, and thus the bean thanking him prettily. Now the bean, and all beans since then, have a black seam because of the thread. And that's where I'm at. So we're at chapter 10, which is the fisherman and his wife. So yeah, even though these are interesting little tales and stuff, I don't think I'm going to keep the book. I really bought it just to read it. That's the only reason why. Because I was wondering about the tales. Because, like, the Brothers Grimm scoured for years to find all kinds of tales. And this is literally all of them. So, we're on number 10, right? Let me give you the other ones of what we have here, so you can know what to expect. You have the valiant little tailor after the fisherman and his wife. Then it's Cinderella, the mouse, the bird, and the sausage. Mother Holly, the 7 ravens, Little Red Cap, Little Red Riding Hood, the Bremen town musicians, Clever Hands, the 3 languages, Clever Elise, Thumbling, Tom Thumb, the wedding of Mrs. Fox, the elves and the shoemaker, the robber bridegroom, Old Sultan, Little Briar Rose, Fun de Vogue, King Thrushbread, Little Snow White, Rumpelstiltskin, Sweetheart Roland, the Golden Bird, the Dog and the Sparrow, Frederick and Catherine, the Little Peasant, the Queen Bee, the Golden Goose, Jorinda and Joringel, the Fox and the Cat, the Pink, Clever Gretel, the Old Man and his Grandson, the Death of the Little Hen, Hands in Luck, the Singing, Soaring Lark, the Lady and the Lion, the Goose Girl, the King of the Golden Mountain, the raven, the water of life, Dr. Know-all, the willow worm and the bear, Our Lady's child, the blue light, donkey cabbages, the four skillful brothers, the fox and the horse, the shoes that were danced to pieces, Iron John, the turnip. So that's what we gotta look forward to in several days. So I read more of this, and to be honest, a lot of these stories are not what I thought they would be, and a lot of these stories are very, very simple and boring, to be fucking honest. A lot of them are boring. A lot of them are not at all what I thought they would be, and I don't know. We started off with ending at chapter 10 with the fisherman and his wife. Basically, a guy catches a fish, he lets it go. Now, his wife's sister says, well, the fish can grant this because you let him go. So she asked for a cottage, then a castle, then to be queen, king, and then to be emperor, and then to be god. And the fish granted each one up until the unto God one, and instead put her back in a hovel. And he went each time to the water, and the water was turning uglier and uglier, and rougher seas and all that stuff. And he didn't really want to go and do it. He did it anyways because his wife told him to. The Valiant Little Tailor, which is number 11, was about a tailor who bought some jam, put it on some bread, and said, "Oh, I'll eat it after I have finished sewing up my my thing that I'm working on." And flies decided to get onto the gym, so he swatted them, and he swatted 7 of them at once. So he sewed that onto a thing, and then went around traversing everywhere, and did dumb shit to trick a giant that he was powerful and strong. Did weird stuff to trick a king, and he even made 2 trolls kill themselves and then stabbed them and pretend like he did it himself. And then he became king and lived happily ever after. He even tricked his wife, because in the end his wife found out that he was just nothing more than a tailor. And so the king was like, "Oh, don't worry, daughter, do this and then we'll kill him." But he found out about it and pretended to be even worse than before, and talked about all the stuff that he did to make them leave him alone. Cinderella was not exactly what I thought it was either. Of course, it's the same thing. The evil, vile stepmother and the stepsisters, and them all putting her off into the cellar, well, not the cellar, into the kitchen, and having her pick lentils out of the ashes. And that's why she became called Cinderella. And then this dance was coming along, the ball, to choose his wife, and she wanted to go, and they're like, "Oh, you have to sit there and do this, pick these lentils out of here." And they kept doing it, and then obviously it didn't work. So she buried a seed, and it grew into this big tree, and she wept at this tree all the time. And then she tossed a tree when her sisters and her stepmother left to her father's alive in this, by the way, very much alive, to grant her a dress so she could go to this ball. So she gets dressed in these slippers, and she goes and dances. And then she comes home afterwards. The guy, the king's son, wants to marry her, but she escapes, goes back home, pretends to be her Cinderella self, and she does that 3 times. The 3rd time she loses a slipper. So one of the daughters cut off her toes because she couldn't fit them all in there, and she bled out, and a bird was like, look, there's blood in the slipper. She's not your wife. She's not your bride to be. So he turned around and said, "This is not her. What about the other one?" So the other one cut off her heel in the back because her heel wouldn't fit in. And the bird was like, look, look, that's your true bride. We're hiding with you. So then they found Cinderella and tried it on. And he was like, my bride to be. And the bird was like, look, look, your true bride rides with you. So they lived happily ever after. 13. The mouse, the bird, and the sausage was a dumb one. And it was boring, okay? So basically, the mouse, the bird had the job of going and collect wood. That's all it did, okay? The sausage cooked itself and other things to feed them. And the mouse did the most work. Went and got the water, went and did a bunch of other things, I forget. And the bird decided that they wanted to switch up because they talked to another bird, and the other bird was like, well, I don't do all that stuff. I do the easy stuff. So they switched it up, right? The sausage went out to go get the firewood, but the sausage was eaten. So they had the mouse and the bird. Well, the bird went to go do, the mouse went to go do some stuff, and the mouse drowned, because it couldn't pick up the pail. I think it was what that was. I really don't fucking remember. Let's see. Oh, to get into the pot as the sausage used to. Right, she went into the pot. The mouse went into the pot to cook the food and died. So when the bird came back, they were all dead. And then he went to go fetch the water and he drowned. Mother Holly is about 2 daughters, one beautiful and bright, and one beautiful and dumb, and the other one average but bright. Her needle thingy that she was using to work with something, and she fell into this world, and she worked for this woman, and she became rich. And her other sister wanted to do that, and she came away mucked. Yeah. And the 7 ravens, they had sent the boys out to fill a jug to baptize their... So, there were 7 brothers, and they had a little sister. The little sister was sick. They wanted to baptize him. So the parents sent the brothers out one of the brothers out to go get water. And all the brothers wanted to go get it. So they all fought over it. And the mother's like, oh, the boys. Shall we show all the ravens because they forgot, you know? No, the father did. And so that's what happened. So she grew up not knowing she had brothers. When she learned she had brothers, she went around looking for them. And when she found them, she had cut off her own finger to pick a lock and had eaten a little bit of food. But in the end, they came forth and they found each other and they were restored and they went home. Happily ever after, right? Little Red Riding Hood went exactly like you think it is, except they put stones in his stomach after they cut him out and he died. That's literally what happened. So basically the same thing. The grandma got eaten. The Little Red Riding Hood got eaten. The huntsman came in because he saw the door open and was worried about the grandma. Saw what was happening, cut open the wolf, took the Little Red Riding Hood and grandma out, and they put stones inside, sewed him back up. And he just got up and he had rocks in him and he was too heavy and he fell down dead. The Bremen Town Musicians is about a cat, a donkey, a cock, a chicken, male chicken, and a dog who all ran away because they were useless because they were old. They scared a bunch of thieves out of their homes and took it over. That's basically what that one was. The next one is about Clever Hans. He was not clever. So he went to Gretel's house to get something from her. And each day it was dumb shit. And he did some shit for it. So he got a needle. He stuck it in a hay cart. Lost it. Right? So he goes back. And he gets a knife. He sticks it in his pocket, in his sleeve, because his mother said to stick the needle in his sleeve. But so he sticks the knife in his sleeve. And she's like, you should have stuck that in your pants. I was like, okay, I will do that. So he goes back, and he gets a young goat. He ties the goat up and sticks the goat's head in his pocket and gets home. The goat's dead, obviously. She's like, put a rope around the goat's neck, right? So he goes and he gets bacon. He puts bacon on the rope and goes home, and the dog gets it. And then the next one was at a calf. He put the calf, because the bacon was supposed to go on his head, he put the calf on his head. The calf kicked his face. She's like, don't do that. Next time, you should let the calf and put it in the stall. So he goes back, and this time he gets Gretel, takes Gretel home, leads her into the stall, and then puts her in the stall like a cow. And so he goes down to the stable, cut out all the calves and sheep's eyes, and threw them in her face. Gretel became angry, tore herself loose, and ran away, and then became the bride of Hans. Like, fucking stupid. I don't know. The 3 languages. So this father had a dumb child. He sent him out to learn. The child learned what birds say, then he learned how frogs croak, and then he learned something else. What was the other one? There was another one. How dogs talk. So he helped them out. He helped the king out with getting rid of some dogs because he learned how to dog speak. He helped some frogs out, and then something else out, and he became Pope in the end. With dogs sitting on his shoulders talking to him and telling him how to do stuff. The next one, Clever Elise, is to marry Hans. So she goes into the cellar to draw out some beer. And she sits there and sees an axe hanging up, and she's like, oh, if I marry Hans, have a child, he grows big, and he draws beer, the axe is going to fall on his head and kill him. And she starts weeping. So, one by one, the father sends people down there to get her to see what's going on, and one by one, she tells them what it is, and she's like, oh, Clever Lisa, starts crying. Hans finally goes down there, and same thing. They get married, and then she does stupid shit. And in the end, she fell asleep in the field. Hans pretended she was home by putting a net over her, then making her think she wasn't herself. So when she says, is Lise there? He's like, oh, yes, she is. And she's like, oh, no, I don't know who I am, and runs away. And no one ever saw her again. Thumbling is Tom Thumb. So Tom Thumb was wished for by his parents, even if he's no bigger than a thumb, right? No bigger than a thumb. He was born, he was raised, and then he went on an adventure that ended with him in a cow's stomach, that ended with him in a wolf's stomach, that ended him back home. That's literally the adventure. Some thieves. The wedding of the Mrs. Fox. An old fox thought his wife cheated on him, hid, pretended to play dead. She remarried. But one of them was him actually being dead. But, yeah, but basically that's what that is. The Elves and the Shoemaker. So basically, the Elves and the Shoemaker is the shoemaker had cut out some stuff to work on to make shoes the next day, and the elves did it. Naked elves, 2 of them. They built them up shoes, and then he sold them for higher price, and then that kept happening, and then eventually he made them clothes, and then they're like, oh, we don't have to work no more, and they left. And he lived well. And the next one, there was a poor servant girl, and these elves came, abducted her, and she went to go live with them for a little while. And when she came back, 7 years had passed, and her former masters had died, but she didn't know that. And then, Changeling. And the third one, was a changeling. The elves sold a child, and the mother had to do something to get the child back, which eventually happened. The Robber Bridegroom is about cannibals who want to pretend to marry maidens, and then they bring them home, cut them up, and eat them. And an old lady had warned her when she went to go see that this is what they did, and they both escaped. And when the bridegroom came, when the groom came to take her away, she told the story as if she had been dreamt it, and they captured him, because one of the fingers was cut off with a ring on it, and she had it in her bra because that's where it went. The next story is about a dog that was going to be killed, took advice from a wolf, pretended he was still strong, was supposed to live in the old, but the wolf was, wanted to eat a calf, but the dog kept the wolf from eating the calf, and the wolf wanted revenge, and the wolf took a cat with a limb and 3 legs, and they thought it was something big and powerful, and the hog was scared, and the wolf and the dog ended up being best friends. Like I said, some of this stuff is like a little weird. Little Briar Roars, number 26. Okay. Number 26 is Sleeping Beauty. And it's different. So they had a daughter. She was beautiful. They called for the 13 acquaintances. But they only had 12 golden plates. So they didn't call for one of them. The 13th one. So when the friends all blessed the child, except for the 12th one, the 13th one came in and cursed the child with, prick your finger on your 15th birthday and you'll die. So the 12th one says, fall asleep. But instead of just her, it's everybody within the castle that falls asleep. All animals too. And then thorns come up around it. And 100 years goes by, and this prince has heard the story about how this thorned up castle where a princess sleeps, and they have to go, and anyone who goes to try to rescue her, dies because of thorns. But when he goes, there's no thorns. There's bushes. He goes through the bushes. He sees all the people asleep. He finds the princess. He kisses the princess awake, and they all wake up, and he marries the princess. Fundevog, number 27, is about a man who found a child, already had a daughter. He found a boy, brought the boy home, called him Fundevogel, and raised him. Now, the cook did not like Fundevogel, and he said she was like bringing in pails of water. Said, "Oh, when the master is gone, I will take Fundevogel and I will put him into the water and boil him and to eat him." And the girl, Lena, heard that, asked about why she was doing that, and she got told that. So the two of them ran away. And then they ended up killing her and going back home and living happily ever after. King Thrushbeard. So this princess did not like no suitors. She turned them all away. And she called someone a Thrushbeak, a king of Thrushbeak, and he became known as Thrushbeard. And he's like, her father was like, "I will give you to the first person I see, even if it's a beggar." So this beggar comes along and marries his daughter off to the beggar. So she becomes a beggar. She works for him, and she gets humbled by this guy. And she goes to work in the castle, and then she sees King Thrushbeard, and then she tries to run away, because obviously she's been so humbled that she doesn't believe she needs to be there anymore, deserves to be there. And it turns out that that's the man she married. So she lived happily ever after. Snow White. Now we all know about the apple that she eats, right? But that is not the story. The story is that after she ran away and the huntsman didn't kill her, she did find them, but the old lady came, and what was the first item? God dang it, I don't remember the second item. Laces. She pretended to sell the lady Snow White laces, and she laced Snow White up so tight that Snow White dropped it, almost dead. When the dwarves came back, they snipped the laces off from her, and she came back alive. The second time was a poison comb. Went into her hair and she just dropped dead. But when they came back, they just took the comb out and she came back alive. The third time was the apple. One side white, one side red. The old lady cut in half, ate the one. So I was like, that's not poison. And ate the red half and died. And this time they couldn't wake her up. So they put her in a clear casket to honor her. And this prince comes along and says, I want to take her because she's so beautiful and I just want to worship her body. Because she doesn't age or anything. So they agree. She is picked up. And while they're going down the shaky path to his castle, popped out the poison apple that was in her, poison piece of the apple in her mouth, and she woke up and they married. And the queen was invited, of course, to the wedding. She had to go, and she was made to put on red hot shoes and dance until she dropped dead. Rumpelstiltskin! This peddler sat there, and this miller said, my daughter can spin gold out of straw. And the king's like, oh, we'll bring her and let's have her do it. So Rumpelstiltskin came in and said, I will spin it. What will you give me? She gave him something. Next night, what will you give me? She gave him a ring. The next night, what will you give me? I don't have anything. Your firstborn child. You'll become queen. So she gets married to the king who made her spin gold and gave birth to a child. Rumpelstiltskin came back and he said, I will give you 3 days to guess my name. After the third day, I'm taking your child. And in the first 2 days, she fails. And on the third day, in the morning, the messenger comes back and says, I have heard this. Tells him Rumpelstiltskin's name. Rumpelstiltskin comes along, and she's like, oh. Gives off 2 names, then gives Rumpelstiltskin. And he gets so angry that he gets his right foot plunged deep into the earth, and then he pulls his left leg so hard that he splits himself in half. Sweetheart Roland. This girl, which is a stepdaughter to this woman and her daughter, was being mistreated because the woman hated her so much. Loved her own daughter, but who was ugly, but hated the beautiful girl. And the ugly daughter wanted the apron because it was nice and beautiful. So she said, what we're going to do, daughter, you get into bed, lay on this side, and push her out to the edge, and I'll chop her head off and you can have the apron. But the girl heard, so she waited until the sister went to sleep, pushed the sister out to the edge. The stepdaughter did that, and then the stepdaughter slept in the inside. So the witch cut off her own daughter's head, and then she ran away to her beloved Roland and said, we're going to run away together. She took the wand, doused blood in certain areas, and then ran away. But the witch found them, but she turned them into something else first, and then into a beautiful flower to escape her. And Roland, who was a fiddler at that time, fiddled away, but then he's like, I'm going to go get everything ready for our wedding. And she's like, I'll stay here. So she gets plucked, put into this cabin, and there she stayed, cleaning this cabin without anybody knowing she was doing it, until the guy talked to somebody, the witch, and he was like, oh. He put a white cloth over it, and she became a girl again. And she's like, I was waiting for Roland, but now Roland is getting married to somebody else, but I'll still remain faithful to him. He's forgotten all about her. All the girls are invited to it to celebrate their marriage, and she reluctantly goes. Now she's got to sing. So she sings last, and Roland finally remembers who she is, and they get married. The Golden Bird is about a bird that is golden, that steals golden apples from a tree. And there's 3 boys. They don't listen to a fox. It's wonderful advice at all. The first 2 get stuck at a tavern. The third one actually gets almost beheaded because he listens to the fox up to a certain point. And the fox told him, do not put the golden bird into the golden cage. Keep him in the common ugly cage. And he doesn't. So he gets arrested. And the king's like, get me the golden horse. So he goes to get the golden horse, and he's like, don't put the golden saddle on, put the common saddle on the golden horse. But he doesn't listen, puts the golden saddle on. So at that castle where that golden horse is, the king's like, oh, well, get me this maiden from the golden castle. So he gets a maiden, brings it along, gets a golden horse, gets the golden apple. In the end, they live happily ever after. But the brothers are not. A dog and a sparrow. This one was a little sad. In the fact that dog met a sparrow that was hungry, helped the dog get some food, and the dog's like, oh, I'm going to sleep. And then this wagon is coming along, and it's not veering out the path, and it'll hit the dog. So the sparrow tries to protect the dog by saying, go around. And he's like, nope. Rolls over the dog, kills the dog. So the sparrow's like, you will know misfortune. I will ruin you. And proceeds to ruin him and his wife and everything else. To the point where the wagoner died. I didn't even read all of Frederick and Catherine, because all it is that Catherine's an idiot and she does dumb shit. That's fucking it for Catherine. Yeah. I attempted to read The Little Peasant, but I just wasn't into it. I think it's because I have a headache and I'm just right now. I'm really not into reading. So I tried reading The Little Peasant. I tried reading The Queen Bee, but none of them seemed all that interesting to me. Nor The Golden Goose. Or Jordan and Jingle. I don't know. I'm just so tired of them being so boring and so... I don't know. They're just not what I expected some of them to be. Some of them were interesting and some of them were not. But, like... There's one poor peasant in a village, right? But then, of course, he becomes the richest man in the village. There was the two kings' sons went on a venture, right? And in the end, the two brothers received a simpleton. The simpleton married the youngest and sweetest princess, and after her father's death, became king. And his two brothers received the two other sisters. So, yeah, that's it. The Golden Goose is about a man who had 3 sons, the youngest of whom was called Dummling, and was despised and mocked and put down on every occasion. And of course, Dummling asked to have a king's daughter for his wife, and the wedding was celebrated. And after the king's death, Dummling became king. Jordan and Jorgingo is about a thick, dark forest in which an old witch becomes a cat or an owl during the day, and at night she's a witch. She lured wild beasts to her and roasted them. And then came a maiden along, and they found the witch's home. Yep, and they let the owl out. Who apparently bewitched Georgina, and Jorgingo sat there and saved him, and they kissed. Well, they didn't really kiss, they hugged. So, happy ending. Witch didn't have a happy ending. That's basically the gist of it. I'm going to try and hopefully don't have a headache tomorrow for 39 through 49. So the 10 of them. we'll end on 50. It might actually be 11. But 50 is 59. So the last one will be 10. Which is the turn up. The next one is a fox and a cat, and it's like 2 pages long, so maybe it'll be better. I don't know. They're short, they're sweet. A lot of the Grimms are supposed to be like, I thought the Grimms were supposed to be like tales of, don't do this because bad things can happen. But a lot of it is do dumb shit and eventually good shit will happen to you. So it's not as grim as the Grimm fairy tales is. I mean, some of it was grim, but so far not a lot of it is. And I am this close to DNFing this and not finishing it. I finished. And what I mean by I finished is that I looked and I read a little bit of each of the last 9, 10, I don't know how many I needed to finish the book. And I didn't read any of them because none of them sounded interesting to me. And to be honest, like, a lot of them were just like happy ever endings. And some of them weren't. Like, I read The Fox and the Cat, because it's, like, literally very small. You see how small that is? Yeah, I read that. And it was just basically the cat found a fox and wanted to know what the fox was doing. And the fox said, oh, what can you do? I can do this. I can do 100 things. And the cat said, oh, well, I can only do one thing. I can jump from a tree and dodge a dog. And he was like, oh, well, I'll show you how to do things. And then dogs came along. Cat jumped into a tree. Fox died. Cat lived. The Pink is about a king and a queen who had a son, and the son was taken away by a crazy cook and framed the queen to killing him by bees. Bees taking him and killing him. And then she raised the boy, because the boy could wish for whatever. And then eventually the boy wished for things for himself, well, through the cook. And then he sat there and learned that the cook wanted to kill him. And so he turned the cook into a poodle and made the poodle eat live coals until he had flame broken forth from his mouth. Yeah. So he went and he actually got his mother released. He took the girl maiden he had created, and put it into a flower and brought it with him, and then eventually turned the beautiful maiden back into a girl and married her after the queen died, because the queen was being fed every day by doves, and then she thought she was released, so she wasn't really, by the good grace goods of the gods, and so she didn't eat. She refused to eat because the doves didn't bring the food to her. So she died, and the king in his misery died, and so the boy married the maiden and became king, and that's it. Clever Grothel is just a girl being an idiot and doing idiot things. The old man and his grandson. So there was an old man who had trembled a lot, and he just trembled and trembled. They sat there and made him a wooden bowl of what he was going to eat out of, and he made him sit in a little corner. So the grandson was trying to make a bowl too, so that way when his parents, for a father and mother to eat out of when I am big, because that's what they did to his grandfather. So they allowed him to sit at the table and eat and spill all the food, and didn't say nothing about that. I didn't really read much, but The Death of the Little Hen, I did read a little bit of it, and basically the hen found a large nut and ate it, and then started choking, and chicken went to go get some water to save it, and he had to go and get a red silk from a bride, and the bride wanted to get a little wreath, and by the time he got back, the hen was dead. And then he felt terrible about it, and marched across the river to try to bury the hen, and every single one of them, including the male chicken, died. Hands in Luck. Did I actually read this? Oh, he was a guy who worked for a master, and he said, I'm done now, give me my earnings, and I'll go. And he walks, and he trades his money for a horse to take him. And he just keeps trading back and forth, until he finally makes it home with, he had nothing. He got rid of everything. The Singing Soaring Lark is basically where this girl wanted a singing soaring lark and got traded to become a lion's wife. Yeah. I didn't read the Goose Girl. I didn't read the Goose Girl. I'm just telling you that. The King of the Golden Mountain. Did I read the King of the Golden Mountain? Because a lot of these I didn't really want to read. Oh, this is about that boy. No, I didn't really read it. I skimmed it. The Raven. So the queen wished her son would turn into, or her child would turn into a raven, so that way she could get some peace and quiet. That's basically what that was about. The Water of Life. I don't think I read that one. Like I said, there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't care about. Dr. Noel I didn't read. I didn't read The Willow Worm and the Bear, or Our Lady's Child, or The Blue Light. I didn't read The Donkey Cabbages. I didn't read The Four Skillful Brothers, nor The Fox and the Horse, or The Shoes That Were Dancing Pieces, The 12 Dancing Princesses, Iron John, or The Turnip. I didn't read those because none of it appealed to me, and honestly, none of it appealed to me. What I'm going to do is this actually looks like it's in a fairly good condition, so I may just go ahead and try and sell this on Pango or something to get some kind of money out of it. Maybe sell it for like $2-3. But I don't know. It just wasn't what I didn't feel it. So I would say my favorite character of this is Cinderella. Because Cinderella in the end gets her happy ever. And the stepsisters get left behind. My least favorite that I read would be The Clever Hands. Something like Hans and Gretel are mentioned a lot. There's a lot of Hans and Gretel. There's a lot of them. I don't have a favorite passage and I don't have a favorite quote. Each of the stories were for the most part. Some of them were okay. Like the Rapunzel one, I'm glad that Rapunzel got to live happily ever after with her prince, and the prince got to have his son and live happily ever after and be not blinded. So, you know. This is just the Grimm Brothers tale. There's probably more of them, but the ones that they collected here, a lot of them were just boring. So I'm going to rate this at 3.25. Yeah. At 3.25. That's what I'm going to rate it as. I'm sorry. I tried. I really did. I don't know why. I thought I was going to do it more than I did, but I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I was. And no fault of the book, or no fault of the stories. It's just, this is why I don't really like short stories. They're just meh most of the time, because they gotta drive a point home, and you don't build any relationship between the reader and the characters. So, you know, it's just the way it is. But anyways, if you think I deserve a like, comment, or a lovely subscription for trying to read this, or for whatever reason you want to give me one, go ahead and drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.